Okay, today you're going to be taking notes on functions, specifically the vertical line test and determining if a given table is a function. Okay, remember from Monday and Tuesday we talked about functions are special relations where the x value doesn't repeat. The fancy way of saying that is every input has only one output. So the first thing we're going to do is just look at a couple graphs. Okay, so let's just go into examples. All right, so we're just going to draw a few graphs. If we were at school, I would have given you something to glue in, but this will work just fine as well. Okay, so we have our coordinate plane here. We have our x-axis and our y-axis. This is a y right here. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, you need a colored pencil. I suggest red. Okay. Red is going to be what we use for our vertical line test situation. Looks like I'm only seeing mahogany, but I think it'll look red. Okay. So if I were to draw something that looks like this, right? Let's pretend that that's what my graph looks like. Okay. So I'm going to use the vertical line test. To determine, is this a function or not? Okay. I do not like how that line came out. All right. So what this means is if I draw a vertical line, anywhere on the graph, and it passes through 2 points, then this relation, remember a relation is just a set of ordered pairs, a graph, a table, then this relation is not a function. Okay. So if I were to draw a vertical line, say here, do you see how it passes through that arch thing twice, right? So what that tells me is that if I were to write out all of the ordered pairs for this section of the graph, I would have this x value repeat, right? So this fails the vertical line test, which means that this is not a function. Okay, so again, if it passes through 2 points, and the reason I put 2 points in quotations is because I went ahead and just filled in where that vertical line, I just created these 2 points on that curved relation. Okay, let's try another one. I think it'll make a little more sense here the more we do. So we're going to draw another coordinate plane. Remember, you can pause the video wherever needed. Got my x-axis and my y-axis. I'm doing this at night, so I had to put the light on, hence the little bit of a glare that's come back. Okay, so if I were to draw something that looks like this, super curvy line, right? And then if I put a vertical line anywhere on this graph, so pretend like this red pencil is my vertical line. If you look, it does not go through 2 points at any location. It's curvy, which is weird, but it does not fail the vertical line test. So for example, if I were to draw my vertical line right here, it only goes through that curvy line in one place. Okay, so we can say only passes through once. Right, which tells us that the x values do not repeat. So this is a function. So when you look at the two graphs compared to each other, you can see very obviously that this one fails because it goes through 2 points, which is a visual way of saying the x values repeat. And this one passes because you can see it only goes through 1 point. Okay, so let's try a couple more. Okay, oops, so there's my next coordinate plane. So if I were to draw a horizontal line, right? And then if I tried my vertical line test, so for example, if I drew a vertical line anywhere through this, it's going to pass, right? Because it's not going to fail the vertical line test. So then we can say only passes through 1 point, right? So that tells us our x values do not repeat. Okay, so this is a function. Okay, one more example. Sometimes you'll be given a graph that just has random points on it. So let's take a look at what that might be. Sometimes it won't be an actual relation as like connected points. It'll just be random coordinate ordered pairs. Okay, so if I just have, let's see here. So if I just put all these random points on my coordinate plane, right? So I have this one here, I'll make these kind of bigger so you can see them. Okay. So what I have to ask myself is, if I draw a vertical line anywhere on here, will it go through 2 points? Well, when I get to this right here, the x value 2 repeats because this is 2, 0, and this is 2, negative 2. So if I were to draw my vertical line, let me see if I can make that more obvious, right through here, then I can see that it passes through those 2 points. Again, if we had, real graph paper, it wouldn't look so wonky. Okay, so this tells me vertical line passes through more than 1 point. And I've had this question every year too. Well, Mrs. Marsh, what if I drew my line here? Would that make it a function? No, you have to look for all possibilities. You have to evaluate the entire graph and see if anywhere on the graph would it possibly go through 2 points. Okay, you can't just say, well, I drew my line here and this wasn't a function. You can't do that. You have to actually say, all right, well, if I do it anywhere on here, oh, this breaks the vertical line test. Okay, so then this tells us that the x value 2 repeats, right? Because I have the ordered pair 2, 0 and 2, negative 2, right? So this is not a function. It fails the vertical line test. Okay, so that is the vertical line test. Remember, we started out saying we were going to talk about vertical line test and tables. So let's take a look at just a couple tables, and then you guys will be done. Okay, so one last page, and then you guys will be done for today, and we'll pick up here tomorrow when I will be back at school. I'm so excited I get to come back on the 1st. This is great news, right? Well, for me anyway, maybe not for you, but for me it's great news. I do not like teaching from home. Okay, so we're going to determine if a table is a function. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. My paper is kind of crinkled here. It's like it got stuck. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Don't worry, tomorrow we will talk about that video I had you guys watch on Friday. So when I see you in person, we'll talk about metamorphosis. All right, so in this table, we have our input, x values, right, which is cups of flour. And then based on how many cups of flour you use, that's how many pancakes you would get if you were making pancakes, and that's our output, right? So kind of like that metamorphosis video. It goes in as one thing, it comes out another, right? And there's like a rule that goes with it. Okay, so when I look at this table, I can see that if I use 0 cups of flour, of course I'm going to have 0 pancakes. That's obvious. 1 cup of flour would give me 8 pancakes, and 2 cups of flour would give me 16 pancakes. So what we want to decide is this a function? Does every input have a single output? Which the answer is yes, right? I don't have, if I use 1 cup of flour, I'm not going to get also 12 pancakes. That's how recipes work, right? Now, I know some of you are thinking, but Mrs. Marsh, what if you make like really small ones? Okay, pretend like we're using the exact same measurement for every single pancake, right, for the sake of this example. Okay, so our answer here would be, this is a function, right? And if we need to remind ourselves why, we can say, no, inputs duplicate. Or let's change that. I don't want to use the word no. We're going to say, no, well, we're going to say x values don't repeat. And we're also going to say every input has 1 output. And give me 1 second, and I will fix the lighting here. Is that a little bit better? Okay, so x values don't repeat. Every input has 1 output, right? So pretend, for the sake of this example, that we use the exact same measuring, whatever we're going to do for each pancake, so all the pancakes are the exact same size, right? No funny business on these. Okay. So now we're going to do another table. And let's say we have the x value is how many miles you run. And the y value is your time. Right? Remember, tables can also be horizontal. Remember, the x is our input, y is the output. Okay? So let's say you're keeping track. Maybe you were practicing, you're training for some kind of race, and so you keep track of how many miles you run and what your time is, right? So on the first one, you ran a mile in 11 minutes, then you ran 2 miles in 20 minutes, 3 miles in 35 minutes, and the next day you only had time for 2 miles, but you were able to, improve your time, and it only took you 19 minutes, okay? So this is not a function. And I'm hoping that some of you are picking up on this. The reason this is not a function is because you have two inputs, right? These 2 mile distances have different outputs, right? So the x value 2 has more than one y value. So we've got 220 as an ordered pair and 219. Remember, we're focusing on those 2's there, okay? And they repeat, so that disqualifies it, right? So that's it. That's your notes for today. So please make sure you have this done and be ready to hit the ground running tomorrow when I get back. All right, thanks guys. Can't wait to hear all about your Thanksgivings.